Royal Caribbean is increasing its gratuities. It also talked about when you might not be able to get into the Diamond, aka Crown Lounge, and someone that went overboard on a cruise ship was rescued. We've got all that and a lot more to cover in this week's Royal Caribbean News Update. Up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. I wanted to share with you the big Royal Caribbean news stories of this week to keep you up to date with what's going on, because there's a lot happening this week. Starting with the number one story, Royal Caribbean is raising its automatic gratuity rate beginning in November. Now, as you already know, you're going to be paying an automatic daily gratuity for the duration of your cruise. It's an extra cost, but it's not because it's gratuities and they're compulsory, but I digress. As of November 11th, 2023, the automatic daily gratuity will increase. For standard cabins, which are junior suites and below, the daily gratuity rate will go from $16 to $18 per day per person. The suite gratuity rate will go from $18.50 to $20.50 per day per person. Now, Royal Caribbean last raised gratuities September 7th of 2022. And before the pandemic, Royal Caribbean was raising gratuities about once a year, and this pattern seems to be fitting within that. The daily gratuity that we're talking about are the gratuities that go towards your stateroom attendant and your dining room staff. The gratuities you pay for when you order a drink or go to the spa, that's totally different and not part of this. Now, the good news is if you have a cruise already booked, you can actually grandfather yourself into the old rate. All you need to do is prepay your gratuities. You can't do this in the app or on the website. In order to prepay gratuities, you either need to contact your travel agent or contact Royal Caribbean directly and ask them to prepay. And yes, you can still prepay gratuities after you made final payment. So there's no reason that you need to pay the new rate for any cruise that you already have booked currently. In case you're wondering, Royal Caribbean's gratuity rates are pretty much in line with the other major cruise lines. Carnival is $16 per person per day for standard rooms, $18 per person per day for suites. Norwegian Cruise Line, for guests that are staying in a standard and club balcony staterooms, are $20 per person per day, and the Haven is $25 per person per day. Disney Cruise Line is $14.50 per person per day for a regular room, and for concierge rooms or suites, it's $15.50 per person per day. I tried to figure out how MSC does gratuities. It's too confusing to list in this video, but suffice to say, they're all around the same price. Next up, Royal Caribbean sent an email to let everyone know what's exactly going on with the loyalty lounges. You may have seen reports about certain lounges on certain ships not being available to Diamond guests, as an example. And it got a lot of people riled up that they were concerned that Royal Caribbean was kicking Diamond members out of the formerly known as the Diamond Lounge, now known as the Crown Lounge. As it turns out, that's not the case at all. On sailings in which there are just a lot of top tier members, Royal Caribbean really has no choice but to limit the availability of those lounges in order to prevent just crazy overcrowding. So in certain situations, like a casino cruise or a transatlantic or a president's cruise, in which basically there are just a lot of top tier members on there, Royal Caribbean could restrict access to certain members for the evening hours, not for the whole day, just on the busy times in the evening. But this is not a fleet-wide change. This is not a new policy going forward for all cruises. Odds are, more than likely, it's really not going to affect your particular sailing. Even if you were on one of these sailings, the lounge and its services will remain fully accessible to all Diamond and above members at all of their times. This includes continental breakfast in the morning, snacks throughout the day, and entry during dedicated concierge service hours. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I really don't care about getting into the Crown Lounge or being denied access as a Pinnacle member. It doesn't bother me at all because I just don't spend a lot of time in there. The fact that Royal Caribbean revamped the complimentary drink vouchers that we get as either Diamond, Diamond Plus, or Pinnacle in order to get 4, 5, or 6 drinks every day at any bar, I would much rather go to any other bar that has, entertainment, or perhaps some of my other friends who are not at the top tier. Regardless of that, I just prefer going to those other venues, and I've always found the Crown Lounge to be, well, a little stuffy for my taste, just not that interesting. It's usually very quiet, and that's fine, and maybe some people like going there. More power to them. I just personally don't mind it, and we're only talking about limiting access on select sailings, very few of them, might I add, for only a couple hours of the day. It's not a fleet-wide change. No one's kicking the Diamond members out permanently or anything like that. So at least for my opinion, it really doesn't bother me at all. Next up is the Royal Promenade on Icon of the Seas. So this was really cool. I got a chance to go to Miami headquarters to check out the Innovation Lab, where they're actually mocking up the plans for the Royal Promenade on Icon of the Seas. Now, Royal Caribbean has been doing this for a number of different areas. And this time it was all about the Royal Promenade. And there was a lot that we went through here, but I wanted to go through some of the big stuff over here. Number one, with the Pearl. So we already know about the Pearl mostly, but actually Royal Caribbean has redeveloped the area that they're calling behind the Pearl. If you're looking at concept art for the Pearl, if you looked on the bottom floor, the lowest level of the Pearl, and literally go behind it, there's going to be a new lounge area that's going to offer gorgeous views. And Royal Caribbean is still tinkering with exactly how it's going to look and act, but it will blend both, quote, high-touch services, end quote, along with a lounge feel. Right next door will be the Pearl Cafe. And we've known about the Pearl Cafe before, but something that Royal Caribbean really wants to lean heavily into is grab-and-go food. Essentially, one of the things they heard from guests in their surveys was that people wanted to be able to easily grab food without having to get either just another slice of pizza from Sorrento's, or go all the way up to the Windjammer to take a plate and get food and be on their way. They wanted to have something easy, little snacks that they can easily grab and go. And so Pearl Cafe is going to address that with a number of different options. Now, Royal isn't sure exactly what food they're going to be offering there, but the general idea is that they're going to be offering some quick food that you can get, snacks, and be on your way. This is great for kids, great for families, or great for aging bloggers who just want something to eat. We also got more details about the new Dueling Pianos bar located on Deck 6. This bar features Royal Caribbean's first double pianist bar where two performers take requests and involve guests in the musical fun. There will be two 90-minute shows per night, and the entertainment team is still working out what else will happen here during the rest of the day. Now, the location of Dueling Pianos is right next to the Attic Comedy Club on the Promenade and is deliberately placed there to bring more entertainment and more energy. Speaking of that, nearly all the venues on the Promenade, except for the Attic, are fully open, so music can be heard from all over the Royal Promenade, and for it to be more enticing for passengers to want to experience it all. They want this area to have a ton of more energy than you find on other ships' Royal Promenades. So with all that music though, this is also why there are no Promenade View rooms on Icon of the Seas, unlike Oasis and Freedom and Voyager class ships that have cabins right on the Royal Promenade. Icon does not, because of course the music issue there. And something else that was really interesting about the Dueling Pianos bar is there will be bar service from the window as you walk by. So outside, as you're walking past Dueling Pianos, that's actually a bar, and you can stop and grab a drink, listen for a little bit of music, stay for the whole set, but that's another area to be able to enjoy. It's a really interesting layout. Something else that Royal Caribbean is working on are some, of course, new drink cocktails for Dueling Pianos. They want to always lean heavily into signature cocktails, really gets people's attention. And one thing they were testing out was the Snap, Crackle, Pop cocktail that actually has pop rocks they put in there. Yes, I did sample it. Yes, my teeth can still feel kind of that, I hate that feeling, but that's feeling of the pop rocks. It was really interesting. A couple more things to pick up on the Royal Promenade. There's plenty more details about this, but number one, Sorrento's. They want to make sure there's not as big of a line for it. So they designed Sorrento's to be able to handle more of a crowd. There's also going to be a beer station here to be able to get draft beer from Sorrento's, something that's kind of new for that. There's also going to be no library on Icon of the Seas. Instead, they're going to experiment with a take one, put one back book thing. Royal Caribbean did laugh, though. They were worried people might steal them. So if enough books get stolen, they're just not going to do this anymore. But they wanted to experiment with it because while libraries really didn't get any foot traffic at all, they wanted to offer something. They thought this might be an easy way to try something out. So look for this pick one, take one back, all that kind of thing library at Pearl Cafe. And one more really interesting thing is, you know, when you go on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship and you go to like Cafe Promenade and there's the coffee and the water that you usually get. Well, Royal Caribbean has a new dispenser they're calling Beverage Center 2.0, and it's more self-sufficient, so that way the crew can monitor it more easily rather than requiring somebody to walk by and be like, oh, we're out of coffee, as opposed to something in the back end they can monitor and be able to refill it without having to stop everything along the way. I've got plenty more photos of everything that I saw on my Icon of the Seas preview of the Royal Promenade at headquarters over at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Something else I picked up on during my visit is that Royal Caribbean is finally going to make specialty restaurants reservable pre-cruise if you have a dining package. So, if you don't know this already, if you buy a dining package today, you have to wait till you get on board the cruise ship in order to make reservations, which is a major pain because number one, you've got to now run around the ship and go try to make reservations. Number two, there's more angst associated with that. And Royal Caribbean really doesn't want that to be the case. They want to make your day easier, and they certainly don't want to fill up the Royal Promenade with people trying to make reservations. So to that point, Royal's already experimenting with making this a thing over on Wonder of the Seas. So the way that it's going to work, instead, you'll be able to book reservations pre-cruise for specialty restaurants if you buy a dining package. Now, Royal Caribbean basically said there isn't a date yet, but they're indicated they're aiming for right after the launch of Icon of the season, late January. They weren't sure on an exact date, but it was somewhere not quite Icon's first arrival, but hopefully a couple days afterwards. But essentially, it sounds like it's going to be the basic idea that you're going to be able to reserve restaurants with a dining package pre-cruise in the same way that you book a reservation for a single restaurant. Now, Royal Caribbean's actually just launched a test of this on Wonder of the Seas. In fact, Royal Caribbean is using Wonder of the Seas as a test bed for a lot of the software for Icon. Basically, they want to make sure that all the systems work from a software standpoint on Wonder of the Seas first, and then be able to roll it out on Icon knowing that it's going to be a hit. And lastly, Royal Caribbean rescued an individual who went overboard on a cruise ship. So earlier this week, a guest unfortunately went overboard on Symphony of the Seas while the ship was in Spain. And the good news is that person was rescued. The individual went overboard somewhere after the ship departed Barcelona while en route to Valencia. And according to first-hand reports, the ship turned around, and after about an hour of searching and rescue efforts, the captain made an announcement that the person had been successfully recovered. So great news, because usually it's very rare that someone who goes overboard is in fact rescued, but good to hear that person was indeed rescued and taken care of. So there you have it, a look at the Royal Caribbean news of this week. Again, wanted to catch you up on everything there. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on some of this news and information that's happening, and what are you looking forward to on Icon of the Season, the Royal Promenade? And did you already prepay your gratuities to take care of that? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. We'll talk again real soon.